To understand the scale of the trap, we have to look at the profile of Ivanna Ortiz. She wasn't just some random woman. She was a target precisely selected by a psychological algorithm. The CIA forensics found that her Alex wasn't just a man, but a sophisticated persona built to exploit her specific grief. Her mother's medical bills were piling up, and she was drowning in the cold, uncaring Florida sun. Then came the ping on her phone. A match. Alex. No face, just a silhouette, and words that sounded like a prayer. He didn't ask for sex. He asked to help her. He played the long game, weeks of late-night chats, building a fortress of trust where she was the queen and he was the benefactor. He told her he was a high-stakes producer for an underground streaming service. They were filming The Infiltration, a project that would prove no one is safe, not even the gods of Hollywood. He promised her $200,000 in crypto the moment the first blank shot hit the trailer. He even sent her a deposit, $10,000 to cover her mother's treatment. That was the hook. Once she took the money, she was his. She drove from Florida to LA, fueled by hope and the promise of a blind date that would change her life. She was supposed to meet him at a park after the stunt. No photos, no digital trail, just a location. "Trust me, Ivanna," he wrote. And she did. She sat in that white Tesla, clutching the rifle he had left for her in a dead drop, waiting for the signal, convinced she was a hero in a movie, not a killer in a conspiracy. The white Tesla Model 3 crept up the driveway of the multi-million-dollar estate, its electric motor humming like a predator in the tall grass. Ivanna's palms were slick with sweat against the synthetic leather of the steering wheel. In the passenger seat sat a black nylon bag. Inside, a customized AR-15, modified for what Alex called cinematic impact. He told her the barrel was ported to vent gases upwards, making the sparks brighter for the 4K sensors. He told her the rounds were polymer-tipped fakes that would shatter on impact without penetrating. "It's a magic trick, Ivanna," he had whispered in their last voice call. "You're just the magician's assistant." At exactly 1:15 p.m., her phone vibrated. A single word on the screen. Go. She stepped out. The California sun was blinding. She looked for the camera drones she expected to see hovering above. Nothing. Maybe they were hidden, she thought. Stealth tech. She raised the rifle. The weight was real. The cold steel was real. She aimed at the silver curve of the Airstream trailer parked in the courtyard, the iconic mobile home where Rihanna and Rocky were known to spend their quiet afternoons with the kids. One squeeze. The recoil hit her shoulder like a sledgehammer. Blanks don't kick like that. The sound wasn't a pop. It was a bone-shaking roar that echoed off the canyon walls. She saw the first hole appear in the aluminum, then the second, jagged, dark entries that sucked the light out of the day. From inside the trailer, a sound erupted that would haunt Ivanna's dreams forever. Not a director's applause, but the raw, guttural scream of a mother protecting her children. Rihanna was in there. The 5-month-old baby was in there. Ivanna froze, her finger still on the trigger, eyes darting around for the film crew that was supposed to rush in and celebrate the stunt. But the street was empty. The sky was empty. There were no cameras. There was no action. There was only the smell of burnt cordite and the realization that she had just fired lethal lead into a room filled with infants. She had been promised a career. She had been given a life sentence. When the CIA analysts later reviewed the footage from a neighbor's hidden security cloud, they saw something Ivanna didn't. A black SUV parked 2 blocks away, its windows tinted deep enough to hide the devil himself. As soon as the first shot was fired, the SUV's lights flickered once, a signal, and then it vanished into the labyrinth of Beverly Hills. In the interrogation room, when the detective showed her the photos of the shredded interior of the trailer, Ivanna collapsed. The realization that Alex had intended for her to be a mass murderer, a sacrificial lamb for a global spectacle of grief, broke something inside her. She started screaming a name, but it wasn't Alex. It was a name the CIA had flagged in their deep web sweep. A name connected to a small village on the coast of Barbados. The deeper the CIA analysts dug into the digital wreckage of the Tinder account, the more they realized they weren't dealing with a common stalker. This was architectural malice. The account belonging to Alex didn't just disappear. It self-destructed using a military-grade wiper software, the kind usually reserved for state-sponsored espionage. But even ghosts leave footprints in the snow of the dark web. They traced the encrypted IP hops back to a private server node in the Caribbean, specifically an offshore data haven near Bridgetown, Barbados. That's when the red folder grew even darker. This wasn't a random act of violence. It was a 23-year-old debt being collected with interest. The CIA's behavioral unit cross-referenced the linguistic patterns from the Tinder chats with local police records from Barbados dating back to 2003. They found a name, a boy who lived 3 streets away from the young Robyn Fenty. A boy who had been obsessed with the girl who sang in the church choir long before she became the diamond of the music industry. When she was 15, right before she was discovered by Evan Rogers and whisked away to America, he had cornered her after school. He had offered her everything a teenage boy could, a ring stolen from his mother and a promise of eternal devotion. She had laughed, not out of cruelty, but out of the innocent, distracted ambition of a girl destined for the stars. She said no. She chose the world over him. And in that moment, in the humid air of a Caribbean afternoon, something inside him didn't just break, it calcified. He didn't want to be a fan. He didn't want to follow her career. He wanted to own the moment her world ended. For 2 decades, he watched from the shadows as she built an empire, became a billionaire, and started a family. Every photo of her smiling with her children was a fresh blade in his heart. He realized that a bullet was too quick, too merciful. He wanted her to feel the terror of losing everything she loved, just as he felt he had lost his future that day in 2003. He spent years cultivating the Alex persona, hunting for the perfect Ivanna. Someone broken enough to believe his lies, someone desperate enough to pull the trigger. The black SUV seen in Beverly Hills wasn't filled with mercenaries. It was a cleanup crew hired from the darknet to ensure Ivanna was caught while the real architect remained a shadow. He didn't want Rihanna dead. He wanted her broken, living in a world where she could never feel safe again, where every swipe on a phone could be a death warrant. The CIA is currently tracking a series of encrypted transactions moving through a shell company in the Caymans, leading directly to a private estate on the cliffs of Barbados. The ghost has a face now, and the agency is closing in on a man who proved that the most dangerous weapon in the world isn't a rifle. It's a 20-year-old grudge fueled by a love that turned into a terminal disease. As the sun sets over the canyons of Los Angeles, the lights in Rihanna's mansion stay dimmed, but the shadows outside have never been longer. This wasn't just a security breach. It was a psychological assassination. Ivanna Ortiz now sits in a high-security cell, facing 14 felony counts and a $10 million bail she will never be able to pay. To the world, she is a monster who fired at children. To the CIA, she is a tragic data point in a new era of proxy warfare, where the weapon isn't a drone, but a broken human heart. The man on the cliffs of Barbados, the ghost from 2003, remains at large for now, but the agency is declassifying these files for a reason. They want the elite to know that their walls are not high enough to keep out a 20-year-old grudge. For Rihanna, the world has changed. The Airstream trailer, once a symbol of her nomadic, free-spirited soul, is now a crime scene, a jagged reminder that the past never truly stays in the past. It waits for a swipe, It waits for a moment of vulnerability, and it waits for the right Ivana to pull the trigger. We live in an age where your digital footprint is a roadmap for your enemies, and sometimes the person you forgot 20 years ago is the one who has spent every second since then remembering you. This case remains one of the most chilling chapters in the history of celebrity security, a story where love, tech, and ancient hatred collided in the heart of Beverly Hills. Now, we want to hear from you. How do you feel about this case? Do you believe Ivanna Ortiz is a cold-blooded criminal who deserves life in prison? Or is she a victim of a manipulation so profound that the real blame lies elsewhere? Have you ever felt that the digital world makes us too reachable for those we'd rather forget? Please, share your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one of them. If you found this investigation important, please subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. It helps us continue to bring these hidden stories to light. And if you find it hard to put your outrage into words, simply write, "Thank you" for our work. It truly means a lot to the team. Stay vigilant, because in the shadows of the digital age, everyone is a target.